Yesterday we went quite long, and I'm not going to do that every day because that will just be too much to consume. So, welcome back if you're here joining us for our lives, where I'm going to be walking you through how I'm walking through this time that we're in, and with the hope of maybe extending some resources or thought processes that will be helpful to you along your path. So yesterday I shared the story of my daughter losing her keys, and whether you saw that one or not, definitely go back and check it out because I shared more than just that. Um, at the time that I was doing the live, I didn't have the real story. So this is so fascinating, and I think it's such an important um, guidepost when we are walking our lives in a time that is chaotic, which is what we're in, and we want to walk with spirit's help, right? Which requires a tremendous amount of faith and a tremendous amount of courage. So I had shared that my daughter lost her keys. She's in her first year of college. And I want to say if you end up losing your keys, it's hundreds of dollars to replace it anyway. They have to come, they replace the lock on your dorm room door. It's a whole thing, right? So it was not like losing a key where you just go and get a copy made. So it was a little bit of a bigger deal. But as soon as I had heard her voice, before I knew she had lost her keys, I knew there was something deeper going on. And when we have a small challenge happen and it feels really, really big, it's so important to pay attention and not brush off what's going on. So, as I shared yesterday, I heard her voice. I said, "Okay, what's going on?" And she said, "I lost my keys." And we talked about it. And I said, "And what did losing your keys do to you?" And this is the question I want you to ask yourself when something big happens. Well, when something small happens and it feels bigger than it should, what did that show you? What is going on underneath the surface? And she admitted that it all felt too much. And we've all been there, right? When it just feels like too much. And so we talked about it. And really, what was going on was she had some really unreasonable expectations of herself. She was trying to juggle way too much. And on top of it, she was really focused on getting all A's, which to me is really an unreasonable goal when you're in college. I've always said this to my kids, college is learning how to be an adult, right? Like that is the main curriculum. But I think we're still, all of us are still living that curriculum. Like how can you be a full-fledged human, adult self of you in the curriculum you're being fed, which is life? And she said, and I said, "What? Like, let's just say you got all C's," because honestly, I couldn't tell her. Let's say you got all F's because she's not even, her head would have exploded. And she goes, I said, "It's not the end of the world. Like, who cares?" And she was like, "I care. I feel like it is a big deal." And so as we really explored that, what we could get to was that she had absorbed a lot of other people's energy. She lives on a campus that inside of a business learning community. So she's among some achievers, right? And that's a beautiful thing, right? It's a beautiful thing to be around a community of people who are really striving. But when there's these unreasonable expectations, it can be really hard to stop. And so, I had said to her, "Okay, so when does it stop?" So you go and you go, you got to get all A's so that in her mind she could get a great job. So then you get this great job, and where does it stop? When does it stop? And she was like, "You're right. You're right." And I said, "And what can you take off your plate?" Now we got to a place that she unpacked some obligations. And she found herself back in a place of equanimity. And I said, "Okay, so we're going to talk to the keys now." And we said, "Okay, keys, thank you. Thank you, teacher. Thank you for giving us your message." Now, what had happened in the course of her losing her keys was she had gone to class, come back to her dorm, could not find her keys, retraced her steps, came back to the dorm, went up to her room. Her roommate wasn't there. This was while I was talking to her. And then I hung up with her and I got on live with you. Now, she had told me in a text, found the keys, long story, LOL, we'll tell you later. What happened, and this to me is just magical, is she had a class inside of her dorm. So she was waiting in the lobby of her dorm because she could not get into her dorm room because her roommate that normally would have been there wasn't there. Interesting. So for the 5 minutes that she was waiting in the lobby, in walks a girl with her keys in her hand and hands them to the RA on duty and said, I found these on the ground. And Katie, my daughter, just happened to be there to see this and be able to like say, oh my goodness, those are my keys, right? Magic, magic. Now, you could brush off that story and say, yeah, someone found them and they, you know, that those were on the ground, et cetera, and that they made their way back to her. But were they? Or were they in some magical realm? Because she had looked everywhere and this person found them right in front of her building and she had looked. And I say this because we have such a hard time believing in magic, but there is so much magic all around us. Now, as I told my husband that story yesterday, and he is not like, he doesn't play in the metaphysical realms the way I do. He goes, thank you, because I needed that. I needed to hear that message. I need to unburden myself with some of the tasks I put on myself. And by the end of the day, I was there. And this morning I was there. I needed to figure out, what do I need to take off my plate? Because I was feeling stuck, because I couldn't feel how to move forward. And I say that because, one, if you hear yourself in that story of feeling burdened, I want you to really look at, what is the burden showing you? What is the challenge showing you? Because there's a message there. And as you walk through the challenge and as you take the message of the challenge and figure out how to work with the challenge, you don't heal it just for yourself. You heal it for all of those around you, whether you realize it or not. I have told the story about Katie's keys to a number of people, and every single person in the process of hearing that story said, oh my God, I need to hear that story. I need to hear that story. And then me trying to help her work through it, once I took a step back, realized I needed the story. And the thing is, you and your particular journey is not just helping you, but as you walk through it, as you walk through your own version of your own struggles, you won't just be healing it for yourself. You will be healing it for many others. So just know, as big as sometimes the hardship or the challenges feel, whether they seem realistic to the size or not, meaning keys are not the end of the world, right? But they felt like it. Just know that the bigness of it, even though it may feel illogical, it's real for you. Honor it and then see what it means to walk through it. And if there's something I can do to help you, I want to know what it is. And yes, here I am, 2 days in a row. Good news. I already recorded Friday's video and I said, I'm going live here every day. You can go back and look at all the week's videos. So I have already committed my future self into doing lives every single day. Some of them will be shorter, some of them will be longer. What I want you to know is I'm here with you. We are walking through a time, people. We are walking through a time. I do want to give you a resource, and that is to talk to your spirit team, because I certainly was doing that, encouraging my daughter to do that. So go to pattylennon.com/meditation, and you can get my free guided meditation, How to Meet Your Spirit Guides. That whether you've done that meditation once or you've done that meditation 1,000 times, it works like a charm. I love it so much, and I'm so happy to share it with you. Thank you for walking on this journey with me. Have a beautiful day.